Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Dave Listens to Hi-Fi. So, the other week I went to visit the Montreal Audiofest 2025. I've been looking forward to the show for many weeks. I really love going and seeing all the new gear and really geeking out on all the new equipment. I like to touch and hear all of the new stuff, talk to the people, and really see what the state of the art is in both affordable and completely unobtainable equipment. So I traveled down and I went in all 3 days. I went in early Friday morning, Friday about an hour before the show started. It was a press event showing off some new stuff. I saw the new Klipsch Heritage speakers, and they were pretty special. What we were listening to was the new Klipsch horns, the AK7 versions. And they put on a demo first. Here's the setup with a WIM Ultra streamer. That's on top of that's the new Klipsch active crossover. So these were actually tri-amped. One stereo amplifier for the tweeter, one for the mid, one for the bass. And they were really impressive sounding, very, very dynamic, very live sounding. In particular, the mid-range was really detailed and powerful and clear sounding to me. And then Roy Delgado, the main engineer at Klipsch, came out and talked about them a little bit. And I guess the new mid-range driver is a 3-inch titanium compression driver in a new Tractrix horn. And, just without knowing about the new driver, the thing that really stood out to me in the initial demo was the mid-range. So they've done a spectacular job with that. Very impressive. So the next room I went to was the Galion Audio and Pearl Acoustics room. So Galion, Thomas in Stereo, was showing off his new Odyssey solid-state preamplifier and his TS A20 full Class A power amplifier. And this combo really just made beautiful music. Thomas has an amazing ability to tune amplifiers and to make them musical and enjoyable to listen to. So those are very impressive. Next, I saw the Pearl Acoustics speakers, and I had heard the Pearl Acoustics before once, and I wasn't that impressed. But then hearing them in this room with Harley Lovegrove giving us the information, they really sounded extremely coherent. I mean, the tonality from bass to treble, all produced by the same driver, really works. It really makes a coherent and live sounding. Here he was displaying how they sound at low volumes, which is something that I really like to do. Like I do most of my listening at quiet volumes, and he was demonstrating the ability of these speakers to play quietly and to sound full at quiet volumes, and they really did that. I mean, it was truly impressive. The next room I went into was the Artist Cloner room. I really love this brand. I mean, Silvio's just like a one-man audio-making machine. I mean, he designs and builds these speakers and amplifiers and power products and DACs and everything all by himself. It's truly incredible. And this was his new Depthwave X series. Really, really world-class speakers. Kind of an elevated version of the Mechanica I heard last year. These are sealed speakers. You look at the base plate on the amplifiers and the speakers, they match each other. That circular pattern is CNC 3D machined into the work. The patterns on the slate is matched speaker to speaker. Big ScanSpeak drivers with an AMT tweeter. Really full, amazing, seamless soundstage. Effortless power. I mean, it's only a 65-watt amp, but truly incredible. I mean, the transparency on that is amazing. He has a JFET Class A preamp with a Japanese chip for the volume control, and lots of interest because he presented last year and caused such a stir. And then within a year, he has all these new products, which are really, really, really nice. Like I was saying, when I was listening to them, soundstage, incredible, seamless, effortless dynamics. This was, I think, one of my favorite rooms. I just kept coming back and trying to listen to music in this room, and it was always packed because people really realize what incredible products Artist Cloner is putting out. I've got some of the power products that I'm going to review very shortly, and just to tell you that this guy knows what he's doing. His designs are truly, truly impressive, and I think it won't be long before there's a much wider recognition of the amazing things that Artist Cloner is putting out.
I mean, to sort of, wow. So JFET Class A, Japanese chip for volume control, goes out to a Class A AB amplifier, 65 into 8 and 125 into 4.
Is it a sliding bias or does it get very high?
It slides from Class A to Class B.
Okay.
At 1 watt.
Okay.
Around. First watt is the most important anyways.
Gotcha.
After that, we're there for power. So we have our power bar.
Yes, this is cool.
Our filter last year that came famous, that
Mhm.
I didn't never thought, and there we go. And I have all the music is in here, server, DAC, and music storage. Everything's in
Next room I went into was Bliss Acoustics. It used these huge Audio Neck Evo 3 speakers powered by the full Nagra system, electronics and turntable and everything. So those Audio Neck speakers use a unique driver in the middle they call the duopole. And it's basically an open baffle driver that is unlike any other kind of driver you'd heard. It operates from about 400 hertz to 10K, very open, very fast, very dynamic. Overall, this was a big system in a big room. It had a huge presentation. They were playing vinyl, which I loved. The vinyl sounded so clean and dynamic and quiet. It had all the usual benefits that you'd assume come from digital, but with the life of an analog system. So that was really lovely to listen to. Very rich. I found the setup was somewhat sensitive to where you were sitting. On axis in the sweet spot, it sounded great. Move a little bit off axis, the soundstage kind of tended to collapse. The Niagara turntable was really spectacular. I mean, just in the way it was so quiet. I mean, it played really, really quiet and stable. And something with that much mass and engineering really does give benefits in vinyl playback with a mechanical system like that, and equally impressive amplifiers and system in that room. Again, this happened to me. I mean, I've been in hi-fi for decades now. I've been following companies, and always there's a new company that comes along that I've never heard of, and Davis Acoustics is something like that. They're out of France. They produce speakers since the mid-'80s, and they came to the audio show with these speakers. They're called the Wall, and appropriately so because they're just a big, wide, tall monolith of a speaker. It's basically a full range driver enhanced by a tweeter, and then there's a pair of push-pull woofers inside the cabinet, in that ported cabinet, and they were just gorgeous speakers to look at. They were pointed straight ahead, but no toe in at all, but still a lot of treble energy at the listening position. They sounded like real music. It was less obviously transparent as a lot of other demos, but really interesting sounding. This room kept my attention for a while, just to look at and listen to these speakers. The bass wasn't really notable, for such a large speaker. I thought it would be a lot more deeper and more impactful bass, but it was just very, very musical. Wasn't lacking bass at all, but it just wasn't an obvious component of the music. Maybe it was just a visual disconnect because of the size of the speakers, but very nice. Then I went into the audio group Denmark room, and Peter, who was doing the demo, he was just dancing to Prince, and his enthusiasm for the music is just infectious. It's amazing to watch him be so passionate about the music and knowledgeable about the equipment. It's really impressive to see. So these C2 speakers, the Borison C2s, are super fast sounding, very, very quick transient response, amazing bass, sharp bass with fantastic impact out of these speakers, and just the technology and the finish on these speakers is really spectacular. It's really next level, as well as the Avic U288 integrated amplifier. That amplifier, if you go on the web and you read about it, just the technology is really, really next level on that. Actually, Griffin Audio, the founder of Griffin Audio, joined the Avic team, so big heavy hitters in terms of knowledge and engineering going down with these speakers here. So here's a demo showing the difference between the aluminum voice coil and the titanium voice coil. You can see the aluminum voice coil drops very slowly through the magnetic field because of the eddy currents induced in it. Now titanium has far fewer eddy currents, and you can see how much faster it drops in there. So the speakers logically be much quicker and more reactive given titanium voice coils. So this room had a really interesting set of components. It was this PS Audio Stellar Gold preamplifier, Audio Note amplifier, Triangle Magellan speakers, all powered through a Power Plant 20 PS Audio regenerator. Unfortunately, it was very bright, very lean, not much to like here, and I think it's more down to the room, because I think this room has disappointed me before, because all of these components individually I'm really a fan of, just the demo didn't work out great. Here's an interesting demo I saw for the TLE TA01 zero tracking error tone arm. And what's interesting about it is instead of using a single pivot point, they use this linkage. I'm familiar with this being used in bicycle suspension design, using different geometries of linkages to describe a specific axle path. But here they're using it to describe the path of the cartridge to eliminate a tracking error. And it looks like a really cool design. It's mesmerizing to watch in this kind of off-center record demo. Provided they can damp all the resonances in those different pivot points, then I think this would be an amazing product. And I'd love to hear one day. And the next room that drew me in was the Yamaha room. I love the piano finish, and this is actual piano finish because Yamaha makes pianos and they know how to make a piano black finish. So it started, they were playing vinyl, which I really enjoyed. That's the GT 5000 turntable. GT actually standing for gigantic and tremendous. And it's a gorgeous turntable, and then a really nice set of separates from them as well, playing into the NS 2000 speakers. This is a bit of a smaller scale, I mean, compared to the big rooms I was listening to. It sounded very organic, smooth, and spacious. The feeling I got was like you were listening to music in someone's room, in someone's house, or like you're watching a movie where someone is listening to music. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that was a feeling that I got. Just nice resolution, impact, and just being enveloped in sound. Very good presentation from the Yamaha system here. Next room I went into was the Fosse room, and I'm really stoked about this because these guys are really committed to making amazing sounding stuff for really entry-level prices, which is fantastic to be accessible to like that. I mean, these components, these amplifiers, are going for the low hundreds of dollars, not thousands or tens of thousands or what. I mean, just a couple $100 gets you these really nice amplifiers. They were using a Matrix TT streamer and playing through a set of focals. The sound was beefy, full, and really nice ambience, a bit glassy on top, but really fun and engaging. And I really have to get my hands on some of these Fosse amps because the potential at the low entry level prices is really, really great for great quality music. And the next room I listened to was the Bryston and Sonus Faber room, and this was really nice. It was just a huge room-filling sound, just a big sound that just covered you in the music. The electronics are quiet and detailed. The sound was layered and effortless. But I did hear that one thing that I don't know if anyone can identify with this. There's a certain sound to the bass on a Bryston amp that I've heard going way back to the 4Bs in the 80s. Kind of like a hollow power to the sound. Anytime I hear it, I just kind of identify that. It's just an interesting, it doesn't take away from the music, but it's kind of a thing that I notice about Bryston amps. I went into the Hegel room, listened to the H400 integrated MoFi 888 speakers, and their new D50 DA converter. They were talking about the DA converter, about its power supply, how it is such a good power supply. It actually cleans the AC line power, even if it's not in the signal chain. Just the fact of plugging it in along with your other components is going to help clean and make your presentation quieter and more detailed. I found it had super powerful, great ambience. Upper treble was a little bit grating, but really nice, great effort from Hegel.
But you're saying that the power supply is different?
Yep.
Yeah, the main power supply is different in a couple of ways. There's one complete toroidal that's only taking care of the noisiest parts of the DAC, and then there's another toroidal who takes care of the most silent or sensitive parts. And together they work like something called a parallel power supply that is very, very silent. It's just, as in the amplifier, it's just taken further. For instance, one of the things we paid particular focus on inside of this amp, it's that all digital circuitry. The only job a digital circuit, if it's a DAC chip or whatever it is, has to do is to switch between 1 and 0. Like is it going to be 1 right now or 0 right now? Or that way. And to make the switch, they need a flow of power through them, 3.6 volts of power going through them and into the ground. And that power flow needs to be extremely precise and steady, because if it's not, they will begin wobbling and they can't make the decision if they're going to switch between 1 and 0, so they do it at the wrong time. And that creates a form of distortion called yes, it's a form of jitter. So extra sounds are being generated that blurs this whole image. So we've taken extreme care on very many small things, and together that is what sets DAC like this apart from like a $1,000 basic DAC that uses the same DAC chips. Because this one uses what is called now the ESS 9039 Q2M DAC chips. It's the same, yes, it's the same, it's a newest version, but it's the same. You see it in a $900 DAC and you see it in a $50,000 DAC.
Does it have multiple
No, we actually only use one.
Well, then I had to show off this thing. It's so cool. It's the Canvas Hi-Fi. It's basically a sound bar with an integrated TV mount above it, and it uses the Bach 3D system to help create this incredible imaging. I mean, it's a really, truly immersive surround sound just from a speaker in front of
Pick
you.
your seating area, and it'll take out the anomalies of the room. And the other part of it is Bach 3D. So Bach technologies is built in. So we're using their 3D technology. It's basically a filter. So it takes out all the crosstalk, all of the the nastiness, if you will, of the recording, and allows the speakers to just play as cleanly as possible. Basically it's taking away stuff that would normally arrive at your ear off time.
But usually the Box 3D has to be tuned to the person that's in the sweet spot.
If you do the full package, correct, and that runs anywhere, I would say, Canadian-wise, price-wise, it's probably what, $11,000 for just the software.
Yeah, if you're doing it for Mac,
hardware,
it's $5,700. US.
Yeah.
US.
And then I think about $7,000 with typical options, because we actually displayed with them at CES. They were saying about $7,000 for the Mac only, the hardware only solution. Or if they build the box for you, it's $20,000 to $50,000 depending on what options you choose.
65 for their top of the line.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Would you mind showing the drivers again?
Oh sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's it.
How much?
Nothing on the
So
front.
7,000 Canadian, and it comes with everything that you see pictured on the table back there: the grill, the speaker, and 2 brackets, one for the speaker and then one for the television.
And what kind of inputs on that?
You've got an HDMI with eARC. You've got a mini jack that is both optical or analog. You just have to switch it in the app. There's a Canvas app. And then there's a USB for firmware updates if for some reason you needed it. So more for service. It does over the air, so you don't have to, as a customer or dealer, there's nothing you have to do. It'll take care of itself, which is quite nice. Cool.
Another new to me audio brand. This is Marten speakers out of Sweden. These are the Mingus Quintet 2. They're playing through the Audio Flight from Italy power amp. Just a massive power amplifier, just with a huge power transformer inside that sits on its own floating chassis within the within the amplifier here. Playing with a nice vinyl setup. The sound was really incredible. Lots of detail. They played a live track, and the crowd, you could really hear the crowd envelop you. It was just so transparent. Played Art Pepper meets the rhythm section. The bass was woody, great harmonics. You hear the complexity in the horn. This is a case where the detail that a system presents really helps you to understand the playing and enhances your appreciation of the music.
Play deeper bass tones. But at the same time, a narrow front gives less interference from the sound spreading from the drivers. Also in this case, every single driver that we use is known to be a very, very high-end driver. We use different materials for different frequency ranges because that's what we found out with the experience of the last 27 years of building speakers, is that aluminum has perfect properties for playing the bass tones. The mid-range out of ceramic works perfect for that. And for us, there is no better material than pure diamond to recreate the highest frequencies. Also, cabinet, extremely strong. Front and back is 40 millimeters thick, made out of a M-board material, which is a multi-layer fiberboard with different thickness that is glued together.
And I heard the Vienna Acoustics speakers with Primare electronics. This had a bit of a softer presentation, but really incredible bass. I mean, the bass seems almost to defy physics, how these small, narrow towers can produce such amazing, defined and detailed and deep bass. Just naturally sounding. It was really impressive. And I always like the sound of Primare electronics when I hear them. I think, I'd be looking for something like that in my system in the future, because I really like it. It just clicks with me, the detail and the power and the effortlessness of those components. Just do something that I really appreciate.
Like bass guitar. Okay, yeah. But and real quickly while we've stopped here, these are Vienna Acoustics Mozart SE Signature Series, a lovely three-way speaker. One of the reasons why it's able to produce the bass that they are is because of the dual bass reflex ports that are tuned quite low, where the woofer really also crossed over quite low, so it concentrates on those low frequencies. Mid-range driver is allowed to run effectively full range throughout the mid-range, and you'll notice, in fact, that it moves quite a bit with the bass. It uses an XPP polymer that then is used here, but this also has a spider cone, where instead of adding mass, the designer has just put ribs in the cone to make it more rigid, and then put a circular ridge right here about where the breakup point would be to further strengthen the driver to be able to do those low frequencies, all aligned with a lovely soft bone tweeter. And then all of that's driven by the Primare Electronics, the CD35 Prisma. It's a modular unit, so it can be a CD player on its own or with a network player card installed in it. So they can become a full digital center. We also have our Pre-35 fully balanced analog preamplifier that's also modular, so you can put the DAC board and the network player board in that. And so you can mix and match depending upon your needs. If you want to have all of it in your single preamplifier, you can get the transport version of this, the DD35, or if you want to keep this all analog, then obviously make this your complete digital music center. Powering all of it is the A35.2 200 watt stereo amplifier, doubling down into 4 ohms. These are a nominal 4 ohms, so we have 400 watts going to them, relatively efficient at 89 dB. We're using Basso Continuo racks, and then we're using Jorma cable, like Primare, from Sweden, but they're associated with the Marten loudspeakers. And if you haven't gotten a chance yet, head across the street to Marten. And then just don't tell Marten, who's my friend, demonstrating the Marten loudspeakers, that my system costs as much as one of his power
That's the DAC we were just listening to. This is the Cinnamon R2R ladder DAC.
Tweeters have been driven by a 6P4G single-ended Triart.
What cartridge is that on?
So we're full Miyajima here. So this is the Miyajima Destiny stereo, and on the back on the glands I've got the Miyajima Zero Mono.
Miyajima 6B4G.
Those are the sets.
Here was a room showing off some Bastana speakers, open baffle with a kind of a sealed woofer there. they were bi-amped with a 7-watt amp on the bass, outward, an OTL tube amp with a 3-watt amp playing the upper speakers. Really dynamic, as horns should be, a little bit forward. Bass not totally integrated, but with texture and depth like I haven't heard of the show so far. He was playing the, and it made Matt Johnson's voice sound kind of like Leonard Cohen's, just with the character there. And an absolutely gorgeous vinyl setup there, and through the Miyajima tube amplifiers as well. So much fun to listen to, and I love the look of this stuff. It's just, especially that turntable, it's just absolutely gorgeous. Very, very, very nice. Into the audio note room, and what drew me in there was the fact that they were playing Rage Against the Machine on vinyl, no less. So that was super fun to listen to. This system displayed a certain layering that I didn't hear from other systems in the show. It seemed to display the background of the music, just drawing out that low-level detail that really helped you hear the totality of the music.
Awesome, yeah.
Glad you enjoyed it.
So good.
Yeah. Did you want to hear something on CD?
No.
No?
No.
I went into the room with acoustic speakers. These were the Concept 300s, and these are just amazing. I mean, they produce such an incredible soundstage, really good depth. This was even driven just by the little Ruark all-in-one integrated amplifier. They were a little bit sharp but smooth at the same time, you know, really precise sounding. The speakers disappeared, voices were delicate. These speakers seem to do things that speakers 10 and 20 times more expensive than that couldn't even do. It was just very, very impressive. Then they put in also the little Q Acoustics 3030C speakers, and you know, much less expensive, but still had that same character and was able to do certain things that just astounding for the price. The Q Acoustics, in terms of value, I mean, just this is something new to me, but they seem to really deliver the goods. I'm very impressed with those. Into the Diptyque room, I heard the DP140 Mark IIs, and these panels, they look more refined than I remembered. This is a revision of them, and bass on these is quite good, and not just for panels. I mean, it's deep and powerful just for speakers in general. In the past, I've found that these speakers really sound like headphones. I mean, it just locked you into a specific spot. They didn't work well off axis at all, but these ones were actually really, really nice. They presented images far outside the plane of the speakers and a solid center image. Really, really nice to listen to. I'm sure the amplification is helping as well. We got the Cora Acoustics mono blocks. It's 150 watt Class A monos with a really nice preamp. And of course, the Playback Designs MPD-8 feeding the whole shebang isn't exactly holding it back either. And the next room I went into was the Altitudo audio room. Now, they're a high-end audio retailer out of Winnipeg, and they always have a really interesting eclectic mix of components in there. We were listening to some German physics amp and speakers. Lots of little tweaks used. These aluminum damping blocks were on top of the amps and speakers. There were little wooden dots glued onto the walls around, special cables being used. I mean, they really, really know the art of setup quite well. The sound was really even, spacious, detailed, very interesting. I mean, I was captivated for a while listening to it because it was so interesting sounding. They had a second room across the hall. I went in there and I saw these really interesting speakers from Triart. Their new series, the Hartley reference speakers. I'm not really sure the reference, but just really interesting, probably very polarizing speakers, but I love the look of them. I spoke to someone else there who said there was no way he could have them in his room, but I really found them interesting looking and I wanted to hear them, so they graciously set them up for me. They were playing on Electro Company at DAC and Streamer, and they had really smooth sound, tremendous presence. The really wide soundstage, not harsh at all. Saxophone was palpable. The sound was just live and energetic. And the proposed retail was $3,600, so a great value as well. And then I went into the phonograph room, and they were playing the Sugden Masterclass Integrated with a set of beautiful Revival Audio Atalante 5 speakers. This had a really big sound, easy to listen to. I would term it more like a vintage sound, kind of like a wall of sound, not obviously extended top or bottom, but not lacking in any case at all. Good detail, speakers disappeared, just presented this big wide stage of music, and it was yeah, like I said, very easy to listen to. And I love the looks of this setup too, very simple and clean and classic. The next room I went into had probably one of the longest names at the show. It was the Fine Audio Vintage Classic Gold XP speakers with Super Tweeter. And yeah, these were playing through with Lab 12 amplification and DAC. Lab 12 are out of Greece. And this, really loved the sound of these. I mean, the incredibly powerful bass, really extended and solid. The extended and clear top ends, given the speakers, the coax speakers, and the Super Tweeter, was a little bit forward, but really smooth and quite pleasurable to listen to. I just love the look of this system. I love the sound. It was very comfortable to listen to, and I sat there for a while. I would happily have this in my room for sure. Went into a room set up by La Liberté. It was an interesting demo. They had an RCAM integrated with Sonus Faber speakers, and then three Bluesound nodes, three identical Bluesound nodes. One was running on Wi-Fi, one was running on AudioQuest cables wired, and then the third one had AudioQuest power conditioner, and then their top-end digital cables. And as they moved from the Wi-Fi up through the chain, there was more detail, more transparency, more fullness to it. And then at the end, once they had played the top-end one, they switched back to the one running Wi-Fi. And it really sounded flat and lifeless. And it's amazing just to hear the difference between different cables and better power conditioning, stuff that shouldn't really make a difference, but it was plenty clear in that demo exactly the improvements that you can see. The next room I went into was the ISO Acoustics room, where they were doing a similar demo, AB, one set of speakers with ISO Acoustics footers and the other one without it, and they were switching back and forth, and you can hear the increased kind of detail and ambience that the same set of speakers, just on a different set of footers, would make. Sometimes I preferred the ISO Acoustics, sometimes I didn't, so it's really a personal thing at that point. Then I went into the Solen room. Solen is a retailer that sells speaker drivers and kits and some finished products as well, such as the KR Audio Kronzilla SX. This is a single-ended 50 watt per channel pure Class A tube amplifier using two T1610 tubes. More of a showcase for the tubes than anything. Those tubes cost $4,300 a piece, but apparently they last a very long time, so it shouldn't be an issue. But a beautiful, glorious sound out of that amplifier. They're showing off some of their speaker kits. In particular, the ones I listened to were the tall ones with the drivers on the side. This was basically a showcase for the kind of single full range driver that was facing you, and then augmented with some bass drivers on the side. I found it pretty pleasant sounding, a little shouty, not really my cup of tea. I prefer the other kits that they sell. They have some amazing deals. You know, you can get really fantastic sound for not much money when you're buying their kits, but a very impressive setup. Then I have to give a shout out to the team at Kodell Audio. Great setup they put together here. Kodell is one of my favorite audio stores here. They're in Montreal. and they were showing off this ear audio tube integrated amplifier. It's called the V12. A really unique look to it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Pared down audio speakers through a Lin streamer, and they also had some REL subs going in. When I went in the room, there was way too much bass. Standing up, just going in, it sounded very boomy. But once I sat down in the sweet spot, it just all came together. It was just glorious, delicate and powerful and dynamic and non-fatiguing at all. It was just a pleasure to sit there and to listen to the music. They really did a great job of putting together this system, showing off some of the components they have available at Kodell. Then I have to give a big thank you to the organizers and the volunteers who actually put on the Audiofest. They did a great job, and one thing they did that was really special, I mean, they had this thing where you, if you brought in some audio components that you don't use, vintage stuff, entry-level stuff, whatever, they were putting together systems that they would then raffle off to young people, people under 25. And these kids were coming in and winning these fabulous little systems that had been put together with the stuff that people had donated. I mean, when you donate, you get a free entry into the show, and so it was just kind of all revolved around trying to bring young people into the hobby and giving them this little platform to start their audiophile journey. And I thought that was just such an amazing thing. That's a brilliant thing, and lots of interest, and the show was well attended, and I was kind of only aware of it once I started looking at the signs. I didn't look into it before, but if they're running it next year, maybe I'll pick up some stuff on the marketplace just to bring in, because I was really excited about that. So I had a great time at the show, well attended, well organized. Lots of retailers there, lots of manufacturers. I encourage you, if you're ever planning to come to Montreal to visit a show, this is definitely worth your while. So this has been Dave for Listens to Hi-Fi. Thank you so much for watching this, and stay tuned for more videos coming up soon. And if you like the video, it would be great if you could subscribe. I just do this out of the love of the hobby and the equipment. I'm not sponsored by anyone, so any subscriptions and likes on the videos, really appreciated. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you soon.